just when you think you've sort of got a handle on all the great Irish writers writing currently, a book comes out of the blue and sort of knocks you sideways. And this has happened to me. I have just read The Coast Road by Alan Murrin, and it was so unexpected. So, Murrin's book fills that, not that there is a gap, but when you've read, you think you've read every William Trevor, and then you've read every Anne Enright, Claire Keegan, Louise Kennedy, Donal Ryan, and you've just put down Quillan Hughes as the alternative, and you're probably nearly finished the recent Colm Tóibín, and you have tried Nola Regan's Though the Bodies Fall, and you've done, well, what else is there? There's Alan Murrin, and believe you me, he's an absolute, he's a voice not to be missed. He has that thing which resonates, which you go, I know this Irish voice. And not only do you know the voice, you absolutely live everything that he tells you in this novel. Because as an Irish person, this was this permeated all of our lives. And of course, that's an indication of the age that I am now at. Murrin's book is set in the 1990s in a small town in Donegal. And it has, yes, got that sort of small town feeling of, everybody knows everyone. The curtain twitchers, the said and the unsaid. And he does this amazing thing. He really he's focusing on his women characters and writes them with such feeling and such precision and such openness to who his characters might actually end up being, with all of their sort of their lumpy bits. And I mean lumpy in that nothing is smooth or straight in their lives, and therefore in the way they behave. And also is commenting on the Ireland where everything was sort of run by and in the hands of the men, typically patriarchal society. So this is said just before there is to be a decision on whether there can be divorce, because a woman in an unhappy marriage in that period would have had the option, let's say, of, I don't know, she'd have, unhappy marriage and had children. She was usually pretty well cornered and could go for separation. And in the case of a separation, the husband had the right to, all sorts of shenanigans. She mightn't get to see her children. So we're in this setting. We have three particular women that focuses mostly on Izzy, who is the character we follow, who gives us mostly our perspective, but not exclusively her. Izzy is married to someone called James, who's a politician, therefore he has sway, therefore he has power in his community. And he has power over his wife, who also is not an easy character, and I absolutely thought this was great fun with Murrin. And it's not easy for the children either, because she's brittle and she's spiky, and she has to hold on to that because she has wanted to, set up a small business or to reopen a small business, and he's not going to allow her. And that's what it was. She's got two children, and we're very interested in her relationship, particularly with Orla, who's the sort of teenage girl, and then there's Niall. And he's fundamental to the story, but he's also, that relationship is very, very interesting, because you see this poor boy not knowing whether his parents are going to be chatting to each other on a particular day, or whether there's going to be this kind of wall of silence between them, and how unsettling that was for the children. Then you've got Dolores and Donal. And Dolores has already got three children. Her youngest, Eric, is quite a toddler, and she's already pregnant again. And they have a little cottage up on the coast road, up on a cliff, which they've rented out to one Colette Crowley, who has come back to the town. And Colette married to Sean Crowley. They had three boys, but Colette had she was the fallen woman, had run off and had an affair and has come back into the community hoping to be able to reconnect with some of her sons. But her husband, Sean, has said, you can't because you did a bad thing and I'm going to get my revenge on you. How will these three women interact? What are their stories and what are their men doing? I'm not going to give much more of it away without sort of spoiling things, but it is a story where Colette is a poet and she's sort of flamboyant. She has this kind of other, a glamour for having done such a daring thing and being so brazen about it. She does a little poetry workshop where a lot of the town's women come and they're kind of half curious. They kind of want to know who this sort of, alien creature is. And they've had all their judgments, all their spite, and all of their kind of, you wonder, would they all wonder what it might have been like to have that freedom? And is she going to be damned to hell? And the local priest, Father Brian, is someone who is at the very opening of the book, Colette is doing a reading. So you kind of feel that this openness with the local priest, and the priest is very friendly with Izzy, and this all becomes a kind of a tension and how information and how power is passed around the place. It's very much a book about women with all their kind of, how Murrin writes them with their unapologetic sort of, they're chaotic and they're messy and they're spiteful and they're judgmental, and yet they're safe and funny and courageous and trapped and defenseless, but they're sticking their arms out with, any weapon they can find to try and give themselves some sort of way out of sometimes these very, very oppressive marriages. And they have few tools to hand and are, of course, children's, the ball and chain is what we're kind of looking at. But are they? Because these women, they love their own children and love each other's children. So it's Murrin's sort of working in this territory where all of these conflict and these tensions have arisen. We're also looking at what men can do to women where they have this right and they have what Murrin looks at, this choice all the way through this book to either support their women or to silence them. It's liquid, this book. The writing is, it's water. It carries you along. Very interesting imagery there for a book called The Coast Road. But it's also, it gives you a bit of a battering in a way when you're reading, because you go, oh my God, how could Ireland have been so slow? Well, Catholic Church, guys, to grant women, kind of an equal footing and to apply for a divorce. It's fierce. It's intelligent, it's wry, it's gentle, it's tender, and it's, oh my God, in places it's searing. There are terrible things said and done. And the women aren't all nice and are all gorgeous. And well done, Alan Murrin, because you gave us a masterpiece. I'll shut up now. If you enjoyed this, you could think about liking and subscribing. Up to you, and I will see you again for another one soon.
You're the wind in my sails, you're the pull of the sea, you're the wish in the well, you're my faithful belief. If the whole wide world was offered to me, still you'd be all I need.